What if the loneliness you feel right now is not a sign that you are broken, but proof that you are becoming someone new? What if the silence around you is not emptiness, but the sound of your old life fading away? There comes a moment in every person's life when something shifts internally. It doesn't announce itself with applause. It doesn't come with validation. It comes quietly, like a crack in the identity you have worn for years. The conversations that once excited you now feel shallow. The environments that once felt comfortable now feel tight. The people who once understood you now look at you with confusion. And in that unsettling space, you begin to ask yourself, why do I feel so alone? This is the awakening. This is the moment the comfortable illusion begins to dissolve. As Carl Jung taught, transformation begins when we start confronting the unconscious parts of ourselves. But no one tells you what that confrontation feels like. It feels like standing at the edge of a cliff you didn't know you were climbing. Behind you is familiarity, predictable, safe, accepted. Ahead of you is uncertainty, growth, truth, and the terrifying possibility that you will never be the same again. And here is the truth that most people avoid. Growth isolates before it elevates. When you begin to think differently, you automatically distance yourself from those who refuse to think. When you start questioning your patterns, you disturb those who are comfortable repeating theirs. When you decide to evolve, you unintentionally expose stagnation in others. Not because you are superior, not because you are arrogant, but because you are changing. Reformation is not a group activity. It is an internal revolution. You will feel misunderstood. You will feel like you no longer fit in rooms you once dominated. You will feel the quiet ache of outgrowing versions of yourself that once defined you. And that ache can tempt you to shrink back down, to return to what is familiar, to laugh at conversations that no longer resonate, to dim your awareness just to belong again. But here is the psychological trap. Comfort is addictive. The human mind is wired for familiarity, not expansion. Your brain would rather keep you safe than see you powerful. So when you start stepping into deeper awareness, it triggers discomfort. Doubt creeps in. Maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe I'm changing too much. Maybe I should just go back. That doubt is not weakness. It is resistance. And resistance is a sign you are crossing into new territory. Every meaningful transformation begins with separation. Athletes separate from distractions. Leaders separate from mediocrity. Visionaries separate from consensus thinking. Before they are recognized, they are alone. Before they are understood, they are questioned. Before they are celebrated, they are isolated. Your loneliness is not rejection. It is initiation. It is the psychological space where your identity is being rewritten. It is the silence where your inner voice finally becomes audible. When the noise fades, you begin to hear yourself clearly, your fears, your desires, your potential. And that clarity can feel overwhelming because it demands responsibility. Once you see who you could become, you can no longer pretend you don't know. This is the edge of transformation. You are not losing people. You are losing alignment with who you used to be. You are not drifting without direction. You are shedding what no longer fits. The discomfort you feel is the tension between your old self and your emerging self, and tension is necessary for growth. Muscles grow through resistance, minds expand through challenge, identity evolves through disruption. So instead of asking, "Why am I alone?" ask a better question, "Who am I becoming?" Because the path of inner transformation was never meant to be crowded. It was meant to test you. It was meant to strip away external validation so you could discover internal certainty. It was meant to confront you with yourself, raw, unfiltered, unfinished. And if you are brave enough to stay in that space, if you resist the urge to retreat, you will discover something powerful. You were never truly alone. You were simply meeting yourself for the first time. This is not the end of belonging. It is the beginning of authenticity. And authenticity is worth every moment of isolation. Stay on the edge. The person you are becoming is waiting. There is a moment in your transformation when you realize the real battle is not outside of you, it is within you. Not with the world, not with circumstances, but with the parts of yourself you have avoided for years. This is where most people turn back. This is where excuses are born. This is where blame feels easier than responsibility. But if you are serious about evolving, this is the line you must cross. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the hidden side of your personality that your conscious mind refuses to acknowledge. The anger you pretend you don't have, the jealousy you disguise as indifference, the ambition you suppress to seem humble, the insecurity you mask with confidence, the resentment you bury under politeness. It is all there, waiting in the dark corners of your psyche. And here is the uncomfortable truth. What you refuse to confront will control you. When you ignore your shadow, it doesn't disappear. It leaks. It shows up in passive-aggressive comments, in sudden bursts of anger, in self-sabotage right when success is close, in judging others for the very traits you secretly struggle with. The mind has a defense mechanism called projection. You see in others what you cannot accept in yourself. That person you call arrogant, maybe they reflect the confidence you're afraid to claim. The person you call selfish, maybe they reflect boundaries you're afraid to set. Your triggers are not accidents. They are revelations. Every emotional reaction is a signal. Every overreaction is a clue. If something disturbs you deeply, ask yourself why. Not to shame yourself, but to understand yourself. Growth begins the moment you replace blame with curiosity. Instead of saying, "They made me angry," ask, "Why did this touch something so sensitive in me?" Instead of saying, "Life is unfair," ask, "Where have I been avoiding responsibility?" This level of honesty is rare. It is uncomfortable. It strips away excuses. But it is powerful beyond measure. Because inside your shadow is energy. Raw, untamed energy. The anger you fear may contain your boundaries. The jealousy you suppress may reveal your deepest desires. The competitiveness you hide may point toward your unrealized potential. Even your insecurities carry information. They show you where you crave growth. Nothing within you is random. Nothing is useless. The shadow is not your enemy. It is your unfinished strength, but integrating it requires courage. It requires sitting alone with your thoughts without distraction. It requires journaling the truths you don't want anyone to read. It requires admitting when you are wrong. It requires catching yourself in moments of ego and choosing humility instead of pride. It requires looking at your patterns, failed relationships, repeated mistakes, missed opportunities, and saying, "I am part of this equation." That statement is not weakness, it is power, because the moment you accept your role, you regain control. You stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming the architect of change. You realize that transformation is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming whole. And wholens means embracing both your light and your darkness. Imagine the strength of a person who knows their anger but channels it into discipline, who knows their fear but acts anyway. Who knows their flaws but refuses to be defined by them. That is psychological maturity. That is inner power. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. Your ego will resist. It will try to protect the identity you've built. It will whisper, "This is too much. This is too intense." But understand this. Comfort has never created greatness. Avoidance has never produced mastery. Every strong mind was forged through self-confrontation. When you face your shadow, you stop running. When you stop running, you stop leaking energy. And when you reclaim that energy, you become unstoppable. So start small. Pay attention to your reactions today. Notice what irritates you. Notice what excites you. Notice where you feel defensive. Those are doors. Walk through them instead of locking them. Ask hard questions. Write honest answers. Choose growth over pride. Because on the other side of your shadow is clarity. On the other side is freedom. On the other side is a version of you that is integrated, grounded, and powerful beyond surface-level confidence. This is not about fixing yourself. It is about knowing yourself, and the person who truly knows themselves cannot be manipulated, intimidated, or easily shaken. That is the reward waiting for you. Not perfection, power. Step into the darkness. Your strength is hiding there. There comes a point in your transformation when you realize something unsettling. Becoming who you truly are will cost you comfort. It will cost you approval. It may even cost you certain relationships. This is the stage where growth stops being poetic and starts being painful. This is the fire. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the lifelong journey of integrating all parts of yourself and stepping into your authentic identity. It sounds empowering, and it is. But what no one emphasizes enough is this. Individuation requires separation. You cannot become yourself while clinging to who you were designed to be. For others, the moment you start thinking independently, you disrupt expectations. The moment you start setting boundaries, you expose who benefited from your lack of them. The moment you stop performing and start speaking truth, you challenge the comfort of those who preferred the quieter version of you. And that is where the pain begins. You may be labeled distant because you no longer tolerate superficial connections. You may be called intense because you refuse to shrink your depth. You may be misunderstood because your vision no longer fits inside old conversations. It can feel isolating, it can feel unfair. You might question whether authenticity is worth the friction. It is, because the alternative is far more painful. Living divided within yourself, there is a unique exhaustion that comes from pretending, from laughing when you don't agree, from agreeing when you don't believe, from shrinking your ambition to protect someone else's insecurity. That quiet self-betrayal erodes confidence over time. It fractures identity. It creates internal conflict, and internal conflict drains more energy than any external criticism ever could. Individuation demands alignment. Alignment between your values and your actions, between your thoughts and your words, between your vision and your daily habits. And alignment requires courage. Courage to say no without explaining yourself endlessly. Courage to walk away from environments that stunt your growth. Courage to admit when you've outgrown certain spaces, even if those spaces once felt like home. Growth changes your taste. It changes your standards. It changes your tolerance. And that evolution can make you feel like a stranger in familiar rooms. But understand this. Not everyone is meant to grow at your pace. Not everyone is meant to understand your transformation. And not everyone is meant to come with you. That realization hurts, but it also liberates. You stop seeking validation from those who cannot see what you see. You stop diluting your truth to make it digestible. Instead, you redirect that energy inward. You invest in clarity. You spend time alone, not as punishment, but as preparation. Solitude becomes sacred. In that solitude, you examine your values. What do you truly stand for? What principles are non-negotiable? What kind of person are you building through your daily actions? This is where identity solidifies. This is where discipline strengthens. This is where you become internally anchored. When you know your values, decisions become simpler, not easier, but clearer. You no longer oscillate between who you are and who others want you to be. You choose in alignment, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Yes, there will be moments of doubt, moments where you wonder if fitting in would be easier, moments where the silence feels heavy. But remind yourself, temporary loneliness is a small price to pay for permanent self-respect. You are not meant to fit in everywhere. You are meant to integrate fully within yourself. There is power in becoming whole. When your light and shadow are integrated, when your values are clear, when your boundaries are firm, you move differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself with quiet authority, not arrogance. Alignment. And alignment is magnetic. The world may not understand you immediately. Some may resist you, but the right opportunities, the right people, the right environments. I respond to authenticity. They are drawn to clarity. They recognize conviction. So if this phase feels lonely, hold your ground. If it feels uncomfortable, lean in. If it feels like you are walking a path few understands, remember paths that everyone understands rarely lead anywhere extraordinary. Individuation is not about isolation. It is about integration. It is about becoming so internally unified that external noise loses its power over you. Stay the course. The discomfort you feel is not a warning sign. It is proof that you are shedding the false and stepping into the real. And the real you is worth every step of this fire. There comes a moment in the journey of transformation when you realize the greatest battles are no longer fought in the world around you. They are fought within your own mind, and in that moment, you understand that if you cannot trust yourself, no external guidance, no mentor, no applause, no validation can carry you forward. The path of true transformation demands inner authority, the unshakable conviction that your mind, your decisions, and your vision are yours to command. Before this point, you may have looked outward for direction. You may have sought approval, reassurance, or permission to pursue your goals. You may have allowed the opinions of others to dictate your choices. It's natural. Human nature craves social validation. But growth, real growth, breaks that pattern. Transformation requires you to step into a higher level of autonomy, to stop leaning on the scaffolding of approval, and to stand firmly on the foundation of your own understanding. Carl Jung described this as a process of individuating, not just in action, but in thought. To develop inner authority is to claim sovereignty over your inner world, to recognize that you are the only one responsible for your consciousness, your decisions, and ultimately, your destiny. This is not arrogance. It is maturity. It is power. It is freedom. The first step is recognizing where you are giving your power away. Notice the moments when doubt surfaces, not as curiosity, but as fear. Notice when decisions are delayed because of what someone might think. Notice when you avoid action because external approval is missing. These moments are subtle, they are deceptive, they masquerade as caution, but in reality, they are the chains of dependency. Breaking those chains requires action. Start with small, deliberate choices. Choose one thing today that aligns with your values, even if no one will notice. Speak a truth you would usually silence. Follow through on a commitment only you will honor. Each act builds a neural bridge of trust between intention and execution. With every small choice, confidence grows, authority strengthens. You begin to internalize the truth that your decisions are valid because they emerge from clarity, alignment, and integrity. The next step is learning to quiet the noise. The modern world is a cacophony of opinions, messages, and distractions. It is a relentless stream that can drown out your own voice. Inner authority is born in silence, in stillness, in focused attention. Meditation, reflection, journaling, these are not luxury practices, they are exercises in self-sovereignty. They train the mind to hear its own signal above the clamor of the external world. And then comes the hard part, action without permission. True inner authority manifests when you act decisively, even without validation, even without certainty, because your internal compass is calibrated and unwavering. The world may not understand, the people around you may resist, but your inner conviction is your armor. When you trust your mind, hesitation dissolves. Fear becomes data, not decatur. Pressure becomes fuel, not a cage. This authority transforms not just your choices, but your energy. People sense it. Opportunities align. Challenges are met with a grounded, unshakable presence. Your decisions no longer swing with emotion or approval. They flow from clarity and vision. And when the mind is clear, the body and spirit follow. Inner authority is magnetic. It does not demand attention, it commands respect. But understand this, developing inner authority is not a one-time act. It is daily, constant, rigorous. It requires vigilance against complacency and distraction. It demands honesty, reflection, and courage. Every day you must ask yourself, am I acting from my own alignment or from fear of others? Every choice, no matter how small, is an opportunity to practice sovereignty. The reward is unparalleled. A mind that trusts itself becomes a mind that acts without hesitation. A person who trusts themselves becomes unstoppable, resilient, and clear in purpose. External validation becomes optional. Criticism becomes irrelevant. Pressure becomes a test, not a threat. You operate from a center of strength that no one can shake. The lonely path of transformation reaches its apex here. You are now responsible for your life in a way you never were before. You are no longer a passenger of circumstance or expectation. You are the navigator, the captain, the architect. And once you step fully into this inner authority, you realize that the solitude, the resistance, the isolation, they were never obstacles, they were preparation. You are ready. Your mind is ready. The world may resist, but nothing can stop a mind that commands itself. This is the power of inner authority. This is the moment where transformation becomes unstoppable and your evolution becomes inevitable. To step into it, trust yourself. Decide boldly. Lead from within. Your inner authority is not just a tool. It is your liberation, your power, your ultimate weapon on the path of transformation. The path you have walked so far has been demanding, unforgiving, and deeply isolating. But now, the final truth of transformation comes into focus. The journey of solitude was never meant to be a punishment. It was preparation. Every moment of doubt, every pang of loneliness, every second you felt misunderstood was designing you for a level of power most people never reach. And now, the culmination of everything you've endured, confronted, and integrated, brings you to the ultimate revelation. You are ready to step fully into your inner power. It is here, at this threshold, that you realize the were. Soul does not give power. You claim it. No one will hand it to you. No one will validate your authority, your vision, your clarity. The universe tests those who are ready by giving them the solitude required to sharpen their mind, fortify their will, and purify their purpose. Every moment of discomfort, every silent struggle, every shadow confronted and integrated has been forging the weapon of self-mastery that now rests in your hands. Look around you. Feel the space you occupy when no one is telling you who you should be, when no one is dictating your pace or limiting your vision. That space, that quiet, is sacred. It is where your true voice emerges, unfiltered, raw, and unshakable. This is the space where the transformation crystallizes, and it is in this space that your choices become intentional, your actions decisive, and your presence magnetic. Transformation is not merely about personal growth, it is about embodiment. Every lesson you have learned, every struggle you have endured, every truth you have faced must now be translated into action. Your power is not theoretical, it is operational. It is visible in how you hold yourself, in the courage of your words, in the discipline of your habits, and in the unwavering alignment between your mind, body, and purpose. When your internal authority meets your integrated self, the result is unstoppable momentum. But with power comes responsibility. True transformation demands that you no longer settle for anything less than alignment with your highest self. That means no more tolerating toxicity, no more diluting your voice, no more compromising your values to appease others. Every choice from this point forward must be intentional. Every action deliberate, every thought aligned with the clarity you have fought to cultivate. You are no longer playing in the shadows. You are leading in the light. This is the essence of self-mastery, choosing courage over comfort, clarity over confusion, growth over stagnation, and authenticity over approval. It is the realization that the world will always resist the emergence of your power, and that is precisely why it is yours to claim. Those who have settled will try to drag you down. Those who fear change will criticize, and those who cannot evolve alongside you may abandon you. Let them. Their reactions do not define your path. Your commitment does. Understand this. The loneliness, the struggle, the fire you endured was not meaningless. It was the forge in which your resilience, clarity, and authority were tempered. Each shadow you faced, each fear you confronted, each decision you made without seeking approval has prepared you for this exact moment. The transformation is complete when you step into it fully, not hesitantly, not partially, but entirely, with every fiber of your being aligned with your purpose. Now is the time to act. Begin by embracing the power that solitude has gifted you. Let your decisions reflect your vision. Let your boundaries honor your growth. Let your voice speak the truths you once feared. Walk forward, knowing that you are no longer shaped by the expectations of others, but by the strength you have cultivated within yourself. Your inner authority, your integrated self, your awakened clarity. These are the tools with which you now shape your destiny. And remember this, the world may never fully understand the depth of your journey, and that is irrelevant. You were never walking this path for approval. You were walking it to become whole, powerful, and unstoppable. Every challenge you faced was a step toward this moment. Every tear, every doubt, every struggle was necessary. preparation for the life you are meant to lead. The lonely path was never the end. It was the gateway. The fire you walked through was the crucible. And now, having faced yourself fully, embraced your shadow, aligned your actions with your values, and claimed your inner authority, you stand ready. Ready to act, ready to lead, ready to manifest the highest version of yourself. This is your call to action. Step forward boldly, unapologetically, and without hesitation. The transformation you have fought for, the power you have earned, the clarity you have gained, they are yours. Own them, live them, become unstoppable. The world awaits the force you are destined to be. The path may have been lonely, but your power is undeniable. And now, it is time to shine.